It's now time to call our meeting of the Bullock County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome the media and visitors. I'd also like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones and other devices so that we may conduct the people's business without interruption. Commissioners, as a sign of your commitment to our constituents and your other commissioners, I'd like to ask you to pass your cell phones down to the right. That'll be all right. Chris will answer it.
Yeah, he might not want to.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons, will you lead us in the invocation and pledge, please?
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for this day. We'd like to thank you for the rain that you've been giving us, dear Lord. And dear Lord, we'd like to ask that you would bless the first responders that continue to keep us safe in this community and any other community under the sound of my voice. Dear Lord, we ask that you would continue to bless the soldiers that are overseas, to let us have these meetings, dear Lord, and protect them as they protect our country. Dear Lord, we ask that you would give us the wisdom up here to make decisions that are pleasing in your sight. Dear Lord, we know we will make mistakes, but dear Lord, we ask that you would charge them to our head, not to our heart. All these things we ask you in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Mitzi White, will you call the roll of the commissioners, please?
Okay. I, Venus Mitzi White, present as clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bullock County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman David Bennett.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
Commissioner Nick Newkirk. Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ray Davis. I have determined that we have 6 members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bullock County. And now I yield the floor back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. I just asked that everybody remember Commissioner Nick Newkirk in their prayers as he and his family mourn the loss of his father-in-law. Also want to make a quick announcement just to make sure everybody's in the right place. The Statesboro City Council is also having a planning and zoning meeting right now. They are considering putting a data center off of Burkhalter and Kiwanis Road. We're considering a text amendment about data centers as part of our zoning agenda. So I just want to make sure everybody's in the right place before we get started. Their meeting started at 5, and if you're not in the right place, you've got time to be in the right place. With that being said, we're going to move on. First thing we're going to do is have a public hearing on impact fees, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will likewise turn the presentation over to Ms. Paige Hatley. She is our chosen consultant to guide us through the development of an impact fee ordinance. Along with that ordinance, the capital improvements element has to be reviewed by the Department of Community Affairs, and that is the business here tonight. Is we do have a draft document that Ms. Hatley will present and answer any questions you may have. And assuming that the consent agenda item, which would adopt a resolution for transmittal to DCA, assuming that passes tonight, this document will move forward in the review process. Any approval by this board tonight would not be any adoption of an impact fee. It's just moving through the process. So I did want to, clarify that. But all right, Ms. Hatley.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, is there a clicker? Or if someone wants to advance whatever's.
We could do it over here.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners, and thank you, James, for the introduction. So the first slide here is just reiterating the point of tonight's public hearing that is required prior to transmittal of a draft capital improvements element, or CIE, to the state of Georgia, specifically to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. As James mentioned, the CIE is just one component of a potential development impact fee program that has to be crafted. And it has to be put before the public in terms of a hearing, and then it can go on to state review. And so the CIE is required by the state, or DCA, of any community that has or is contemplating an impact fee program. The CIE document allows fees to be collected, a one-time fee from new development, to help pay for the expansion of public facilities, additional public facilities, and capital project needs that have to be put in place to serve new development. Bullitt County CIE specifically addresses the following public facility categories: recreation, road improvements, all public safety-related categories, so fire, sheriff, emergency services, animal control, et cetera, and then libraries. Next slide talks about the purpose of the CIE. As mentioned, it is a mandated state requirement. The horizon, when we talk about looking at public facility needs to accommodate growing residents and additional businesses, we're looking 20 years out. The project needs, based on meeting the demand of growth over the next 20 years, is based on growth projections in terms of population, housing, and employment. We also look at local plans or studies. You have a long-range transportation plan, for example, a fire station coverage plan that helps inform us as to what known long-range needs are that need to be accounted for. And then we also have, we've had one-on-one meetings with the department heads to talk about, based on what they're seeing on the ground, what is needed to meet the demands of a growing community and provide appropriate services. The CIE, as mentioned, its adoption allows impact fees to be spent on impact fee eligible projects. If a project is not in the CIE, impact fees cannot be used on those projects. So this is a project-based document, and then the fees, next slide please, that could be charged to help pay for those projects identified as being needed in the CIE are calculated separately later on in this process. The state of Georgia does not review fee calculations. They don't look at potential fee schedules, but they do need to approve, again, this project-based emphasis of the CIE. Next slide. This is just a summary as to the type of projects that are eligible for impact fee funding that are in the draft CIE document. Everything boils down to expanding your systems. So expanding your recreation system by adding playgrounds, expanding your fire system by adding fire trucks and additional fire stations. It's all about growing your systems to meet the demand of future growth and development. Next slide. So, as to the process of where the CIE falls relative to the overall study, looking at the potential adoption of an impact fee program, the CIE is one of two formal components that would have to be adopted by the board. It is the only document that requires state approval. And as I've mentioned, the fees that could be charged to help pay for the projects in the CIE will be addressed in what's called a development impact fee ordinance that we will be discussing in detail later on in the process, as shown on the final slide. The next steps moving forward, we've got the public hearing. As James mentioned, then there is what's called, it's just a transmittal resolution on the consent agenda that just says that the board authorizes the draft document in your packet to move forward for regional and state review. That process is upwards of 2 months. During that time, we'll be finalizing the fee calculations of the most that could be charged to help pay for projects projects. So what would the fee be for a detached single-family house? What would the fee be for per square foot for a new bank building or a new restaurant? And then we'll be convening again with the state-mandated advisory committee that was appointed by the board to talk about, well, what should the fees be charged relative to the maximums that we're calculating that will be established. The input from the advisory committee will then be shared with you all in your deliberations to talk about if you want to move an impact fee program forward, what would a fee schedule look like for that? That would ultimately be included in the ordinance, and then the ordinance at the end of the process would be adopted with the CIE document, and then after staff training and establishing an effective date for collections in your ordinance, then you would be in the development impact fee business. So that is an overview then as far as where we are, where we're moving forward over the coming months. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to ask you, do you have any idea what all impact fees would apply to as far as, at one point in time, they said pretty much anything you had to pull a permit on. Is that
Yes,
pretty well
sir.
correct?
So building permits are the triggering mechanism. So any new development, so any new rooftops, any type of new, anything that's adding a dwelling unit would be subject to an impact fee. We're not talking about remodeling homes or adding a bedroom, but any additional dwelling units, and then any other non-residential new development. So a new restaurant coming in, there might be a conversion from one commercial use to a more intensive commercial use that would necessitate impact fees because it has a greater impact on local services, new gas stations, new industrial buildings, anything that is subject to a building permit that is creating demand for services, is generally new development, would be subject to the impact fee to help pay for new services that are going to be needed to accommodate them.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that. I think some of the questions I had today, as far as the commercial side of it, I think everybody's on board with the commercial side, gas stations and anything like that. Case scenario is a fella's just bought a mobile home and bought 50 acres of land. He's going to put it there, and he's thinking that he'll be, and I'm just going to throw this number out here because that was thrown out there, $3,000 to $5,000 for an impact fee. So if that's the case, when the impact fees are implicated, somebody that moves a mobile home in like that to build their house, they would have to pay $5,000 or whatever the impact fee is on the mobile home. And then when they build their house, they'll have to pay that impact fee. And then when that mobile home is in this county, does whoever buys it and moves it in this county again, will they be charged again an impact fee for the same house?
So for mobile homes, it's one and done as far as an impact fee. If an impact fee is associated, if it's now in the system, then, and it's relocated elsewhere, there's no net increase in terms of the dwelling units. And so that's what it all boils down to. Anything that is, a permanent addition, it's one more full dwelling unit, then there's an impact fee, but not if once it's relocated, then there's no additional fee associated with that for the mobile home. And you've hit an excellent point about the cost. We don't even know. I don't have no idea. In the state of Georgia, impact fees for a detached single-family home or mobile home can range anywhere less than $1,000 up to the $5,000-6,000 range. It's just they're all over the place. It depends. But certainly, mentioning a figure, the $3,000 to $5,000 is found in some other communities.
Well, and another one is because it would be pulled directly off of permits being bought. Does that take in agricultural buildings too, such as shops and?
No, sir. So, no. And then also that's touching on a good point about accessory buildings. So we're not talking about anything such as that, or even on residential property with typical accessory dwelling or units or buildings rather that are part of someone's residence. So that on the agricultural side would not be subject, as well as any other typical, like someone's building a shop or garage on their property. That's not what is subject to an impact fee.
Thank you.
So, question I got, if you got a contracting company that's building houses, are they going to pay impact fees on those houses?
Anything, whether it's rental, homes that are purchased outright, apartment complexes, mobile homes, stick-built properties, anything that is, it is a complete dwelling unit with, it can be occupied as a residence, bathroom, kitchen, bedrooms, would pay an impact fee because they're creating demand for additional services in the way of parks, fire, police, et cetera.
So the reason I ask that question is, it's hard for a first-time homeowner to buy a house as it is. And what's going to happen is the contractor, he's just going to pass that on to the buyer. And, I'm just thinking of the couple that's trying to buy a house. So what would be the impact fee on a 2 or 3 bedroom house?
So that's where we're getting just, I don't want to get too far ahead on our skis because we're going to be getting into these very types of discussions. What you raise has a lot of merit, and there are ways to both, we're looking at establish the fee schedule, well, what should be charged, what is a comfortable rate for this community, and then there are also mechanisms where fees can be reduced on a case-by-case basis or can be considered for potential reduction. And that includes a provision under the state law for what the state law terms affordable housing. That would have to be defined by the county if there would be a case-by-case review by the board where someone would make application to waive or reduce their impact fee. The only kicker with that is any approved waiver would have to be made up by the county from the general fund. But there are other mechanisms that we'll be talking about that can be considered for potential relief in the development impact fee ordinance. And we're going to get through all of that once we I get a chance to finish calculating the fees. Now that we've got the projects pretty much locked down, now we have to figure out what could be charged. And I apologize, we're not at that point yet, but we will have very detailed discussions to have these, to talk about the meaningful points you bring up.
So what we're here tonight, so we're not voting to say, yes, we're going to have impact fees. We're just
Correct, sir.
listening to you
Right.
talk about
This is the
what
first formal component. That's right.
doing.
And even with the state DCA, once they come back and say, we reviewed your CIE and we say it's okay, it won't move forward until there's formal adoption. If the board wants to progress with an impact fee program, only at that time would they adopt the CIE and the ordinance with the fee schedule. And so we're not at that point yet. All this does is it gets you to be able to consider having discussions about adopting an impact fee program. And if you want to do it, then you'll have the appropriate documentation in place at the end of the process.
Thank you.
This impact fee is specifically for new structures. There will be no clawback on existing structures or old structures.
Yes, sir, correct. That's right. So anything that is in the ground or, building permits have been issued and it's proceeding, then we don't touch that, but it's moving forward.
And let me
That's by state
clarify
law.
one thing. I've had this question asked, and a lot of people misunderstood that this is strictly toward subdivisions. But its impact fee is not, if I'm correct, right? If you are in the middle of 4 generations, 250 acres of land, and you build a house, or my son builds a house on that land, that house is subject to an impact fee. Is that correct?
Any additional dwelling, whether it's one on
Any-
50
no matter what.
acres or
I
it's in
just
a
wanna get that out there
100,
so I
yes,
can
sir,
get the
that's
question.
correct, yes.
It is not limited. It is to whatever is built, your children build from now on. So, I mean, that question's been asked a lot, and I've been told I was wrong, but I knew I wasn't. But I just want to make sure that everybody understood that now. That's out in the open. Thank you.
Yes, I did want to relate to that too. That was a big concern because you got a lot of people that's owned land a long, long time and paid taxes for a long, long time for just paying taxes, and now their children and grandchildren want to build a house on their farmland that they've had, and now they go on, such as myself, I've got 4 children, and I'm gonna be hit with $20,000, what is another tax that I paid some pretty good taxes already. And I understand what everybody's after. Everybody is after everybody just moving here and buying an acre of land, half-acre land in a subdivision, and they want them when they move here. Here, y'all been putting this weight on us, now we want to take some weight off of us and put it on y'all. But I want everybody to understand that ain't how this is drafted. It's gonna impact, like y'all just said, 400-acre farms and quarter-acre lots.
Right, with respect to residences. And so, we are constrained by state law, and so we have to be equitable in how we're approaching this. And so, everybody has an impact on services, regardless of who is occupying that dwelling, for example. And so that's why we don't have, unfortunately, the latitude to sort of be able to pick and choose land uses unless you want to go the route of certain exemptions that are authorized under state law for potential consideration, but then you still have to make it up from the general fund, whatever is not coming in from the impact fee. But valid point.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'd like to get a motion to open the floor to public comment, please.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from Mr. Connor. All in favor of opening the floor to public comments? This is public comments related to this impact fee. We did not get a sign-up sheet out, but if anybody would like to come up and speak, if you just come up and identify yourself, you're welcome to speak. Going once, going twice? Yep.
My name is Reginald Mosley from Portal. I was tricked into coming to the meeting today. My sister invited me, then she told me to sign up to speak. However, this new proposal appears to be a new tax. And I just want you all to consider that whatever exemptions, if you decide to move forward, to consider not applying for individuals who are trying to build a house. You have a lot of new developments coming into Bullitt County. Those guys coming in with millions of dollars. So consider attaching it to them as opposed to the residents who are here, farmland, air property, whatever. So just if there's an opportunity to not tax the local residents, I would say take that opportunity. That's it for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emily, I believe you wanted to come up and speak?
Good evening. My name is William Emily, and I live here in Statesboro for the last 21 years now. Thank you. The question I was having years ago when I brought this topic up about impact fees, and that is when a project places an impact on essential services like fire, police, ambulance, roads, and like this. Were we able to collect or obtain a fee from that project to help pay for those essential services? And this all was about when we were seeing a lot of the industries coming in here. And at the same time, the industries received a property tax abatement. So what was the uproar or the unevilness was that if these industries are not paying property taxes, but they are placing a burden upon fire, police, roads, EMS services like this, a project that is growing homes, which now the new home development is going in, and now we're going to have to put in a new fire station. Not only the fire station, but the equipment and the manpower. Who funds that? And it was seeming like it was kind of relaying to the people that the taxes were going up, and the taxes were going up. And the reason why is because of growth. But what we were seeing is that projects were being approved, and then later on we're paying what the cost of these projects are, and not the project itself. So it just didn't seem like it was fair or it was right that projects were being approved and being put in place, and they weren't paying their fair share. They weren't paying for the roads or the EMS or the fire. And when I requested the documents from the industrial parks that were going in and all the industries coming in about the impact fees or the property tax abatements, what was all of the breakdown? I could never get it from the Development Authority and even from our own representative here on the board. So that's, again, the people were just saying is that if a family had a farm for years and generations, and now their children are now at the age where they would love to have a home put on their property, but that home that they're going to be there putting on there is going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars because of an impact. Well, the question is, if the family's already here, what impact are they putting on the essential services if they're already here? So that's where I was saying, if this impact fee system is put in place, I think it needs to be really looked at and say, okay, when we say impact what? Is it impacting essential services? And then if you are impacting essential services, then what portion should you be rightfully owing? Just like if I put in something at my house and I'm impacting the road service, I should be held accountable and responsible to pay for that because I'm impacting the essential services. That's what I will hopefully that when you guys look at the commissioners look at this impact fees like this, that we are being fair. And also in the industries too. And not just being, well, they receive property tax abatements, that they're not paying property taxes, and property taxes is what helps fund our county and our projects that we need, like fire, police, EMS. And when I looked at the list of items that we're having to purchase tonight, approval-wise, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of impact. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to take this opportunity to speak on this issue. My name is Michael Bailey. I used to be a regular at these meetings about 2 years ago. This is my first one back in a while, and this upsets me. This is another tax. Mr. Rushing and I don't always agree. Mr. Connor and I don't always agree. Mr. Newkirk, but I think we all kind of agree on this. Okay, a service station comes in, right? They're going to charge you an impact fee, or somebody comes in, provides a service, they're going to charge you impact fee. Who's going to pay for that? They're going to pay for it, but we're going to pay for it. They're going to pass it down to the people. It's another tax. Call it what it was. Ma'am, wherever you are, that was a very good presentation. I enjoyed it, but it's another tax. That's all it is. Call it what you want, put a pretty title on it, and let's slap it on the butt and send it on through. I think that we need to really, let me rephrase that. I do take the opportunity to speak to you folks, but I think you really need to look at this. My taxes went up. Your taxes went up. Everybody's taxes went up. I don't know anybody that taxes went down. This is another tax, folks. It's just under a different name. We really need to look at this. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else? If the could, I'd like to get a motion to close the floor to public comment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from Mr. Simmons. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. So we're going to move into the zoning agenda for the evening. Before I entertain a motion for the zoning agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board? All right, hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the planning and zoning agenda.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that,
Yes.
were we supposed to vote yea or nay whether
It's in the
that?
consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
All right, how about a second? All right, got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from,
Mosley.
thank you, Mr. Mosley. I'll make y'all wear name tags. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. I'll turn it over to Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first agenda item tonight is a conditional use request by Mr. Jay Batt for the application of, which would allow a liquor store to be placed at the property at 7462 Stilson Leafield Road. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions by a 5-0 vote. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use request with conditions. And I'll go back through the case, but you did see this case in our last, well, a month ago, and it was tabled. So maybe commissioners, you've had a chance to speak with constituents and so on. But general location is in Leafield. This is the current zoning map of the area. The property is zoned highway commercial. And presently, the building of where it would be located operates as a convenience store. And I will say, I don't think it was mentioned in at the last meeting, but the applicant does have a current beer and wine license, so a current alcohol license. So the proximity for requirement for that license is the same for the liquor store. So that was a question in our last, when we heard it last. The applicant proposes to construct a wall to separate the liquor store from the convenience store as shown on the site map. So again, two main entrances to the building. And this is the location at the time we placed the zoning, the public hearing sign on the property. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Batt, or if you have an agent that you want to have represent you, if you'll step up to the podium.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I am here to respectfully request your approval to add a liquor store to our existing gas station and convenience store. This addition will provide a convenient service for local residents while helping support the continued growth of our business and contributing to the county's economy through additional tax revenue and employment opportunities. We are committed to operating responsibly, complying with all state and county's laws, and maintaining a safe, clean, and respectful environment for our customers and neighbors. I would also like to mention that I have my colleague Brian and my son here with me today. English is not my first language, so if there are any questions or terms that I do not fully understand, they may assist by helping explain or clarify them for me. I appreciate your understanding. Thank you again for your time, consideration, and the opportunity to present my request. I respectfully ask for your approval and look forward to serving our community responsibly. Thank you.
Got two of you gentlemen, I believe, signed up to speak in favor of this. Actually, there's three of y'all.
And Brian is here.
Okay.
Michael Bailey.
So I don't know if y'all want to continue on now or wait till they call your name.
We can wait till.
Okay?
So I'll call those two in opposition. If you guys want to have a seat, I'll call you back up. Scott Redding.
Mr. Redding, I just want to let you know that we have 10 minutes allowed for both of you to speak.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if y'all have talked about it beforehand, but that's going to be up to y'all to divide that time up.
We did. I'd like to thank the distinguished Board of Commissioners this evening for allowing me the opportunity to speak on this matter concerning the zoning of the store in Leafield. I currently serve as a pastor in the community of Leafield, and I did notice that the church was not in the pictures this time around. That being said, I will answer this according to Scripture. I can stand up here and preach to you about drinking and about the problems of alcohol, but I do want us to consider something that God said through His Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 10:23, that all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. Let no one seek his own, but each other seek his well-being. To keep the meaning of this text, Paul is referring to food offered to unbelievers by idols. Paul says that we have the freedom to do some things, that we have the freedom by law to do some things sometimes, and God gives us that liberty. So how do we bring that into our decision today? We have to ask ourselves, the first question is, what we doing lawful? And that answer is yes. The owner of the store has every legal right to have a liquor license according to the laws of the state of Georgia and Bullock County. And he seems to have met the criteria. And I will personally attest, he is an outstanding member of our community, of whom I have a great deal of respect. I have seen him help people through that store with food and other things. So I wish nothing but the best for him in continued service. So if the answer to that is yes, however, the next question we have to ask ourselves is this: is it helpful to those around us? All you have to do is look inside of a detox facility at the lives that have been set back and destroyed. Or just ask a first responder who worked the scene of an accident involving an alcohol-related death. Or as a pastor, you stand and hold the hand of someone who is close to death because of liver failure, and they are yellow as a school bus from jaundice. That answer becomes a resounding no. The next question that gets asked is, does it edify? That means, does it build up? Does it build up our community? I've never seen a liquor store benefit or add a positive influence into the community around us. It is always the opposite. This store has community traffic involving children and teenagers. No matter how hard we try, there will be a negative influence in our community. Then there's the physical impact on the community. Have we considered the entrance and egress into this facility that was designed for a single business? Now we're placing two businesses in the same size lot, and there's no doubt going to be more traffic for the liquor store once that's added. Do we have the infrastructure in the unincorporated parts of the county, such as law enforcement or support for what comes with a business like that? So the answer remains a resounding no. Are we looking after our fellow man? Alcoholism is a rampant problem in our country, and I have personally been affected by this in my family, and so have many more. As a Christian, we have a tremendous liberty in Christ. We are to seek the welfare of other men around us. So a Christian life should not be primarily directed or dictated by liberty. Our liberty is limited by and governed by love for our fellow man. You see, a Christian is not always pinned down by the legality of what's right or wrong. He's not bound by strict rules. Love governs what we do for our fellow man. We should always be concerned about our influence and our effect on others. Christians, and citizens are never to act in a way that's harmful or hurtful to others. Rather, we are to help them grow in their community and their Christ-likeness, build them up in their faith. We should help them glorify God in relation to others, and we should always seek to do the right thing, the right way, the right time, and for the right reasons. I thank the Board of Commissioners for the opportunity to speak today.
John Smith.
My name is John Smith. I don't think I can top that, to be honest with you. But I do have some things I'd like to say about it. I'd like to know why you took the picture out, because you can see the church last month from the front of that store. Y'all not showing that tonight. To put this wall up tells me that you're hiding. You have to put a wall up, separate the liquor store from the other store. You know, he's got a beer license. Liquor is different. You got to hide that stuff. You got to put it somewhere. That's the rules. I mean, that's just telling you right there that we shouldn't have this thing. We don't need it in the rural areas. I'll be up here next month to fight the one on 24. That's closer to my house. But this is the church I go to, so I see it also. And we would like to not have these in the rural communities anywhere in this county. So I'm asking you tonight to vote no on this. And these stores have been there probably 50 years. You know, they make it. They're not struggling to the point that this has to be a do or die situation. So that's what I'm asking. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Bat, and we have Mr. Bat, Meat Bat, Brian Gerardo, you are up, and then we have Michael Bailey, all four. So if any of you want to come back up and speak now to address.
So my name is Michael Bailey. I live on 555 Plus Clifton Road, right down the road. I do respect your gentleman's opinion, and I appreciate what you said. I've known Mr. J and his wife ever since they first came here. We've been living here 40 years, and whenever he first showed up at the store, him and his wife, and like the pastor said, they're good people. They're good people. So has anybody ever bought diesel fuel from Mr. J? You pay about 30 cents more a gallon. Why? Because he can't compete with the Inmarks. He's a small business. He's trying to make a living. He's a good man. He has a beer license and a wine license. You can go buy beer and wine. I'd stop, get a six-pack on the way home if you want to. Me personally, I don't see the issue of why we're even having this discussion, because he has a beer and wine license. I know more alcoholics that drink beer that never drink liquor. Everybody in this room knows an alcoholic, or somebody that was an alcoholic, or somebody's brother is an alcoholic. That's the demon that they have to face. I really, I do enjoy bourbon. I do. And I think it's a great thing. All the liquor stores are in Statesboro. I don't think it's any in the county now, is it? I think this is really the first one out of the city limits, if I'm not mistaken, or pretty close anyhow. I was excited when I saw it because I don't have to drive to Statesboro if I want a bottle of bourbon. That's my opinion. I do respect everybody else's opinion that says, no, it's a horrible thing. I don't agree with it. Now, if he didn't have a beer and wine license, been selling beer, the old Leaf Hill store was there many, many years ago, before they showed up, before they built the store. They sold beer and wine. They did. So I just, we have a petition going around. I did sign the petition. And I told Mr. J, I said, I'd be more than happy to come up here and speak, because, I don't see why we shouldn't approve it. Like I said, if he didn't have a beer and wine license, then I would believe that we had okay, we need to look at this. But they're good people. They work hard. He's in that store every day, and his wife. And it's a small business. He is spending the money to expand his business. We should be supporting that. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Mr. J. Bat, Meatbat, or Mr. Gerardo, you didn't want to come back? Okay. And all the commissioners, you do have a copy of the petition that were signed in support of Mr. Bat's services. And that is all.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say something.
Yes.
My daddy's store was in register since 1936. Bought it from L.R. Anderson. And a small town store like that, it was a big part of the community back in the day. Then Mr. Marshall up and he come in with the time savers. And they get under more and more pressure. And like the comment was made, well, they still making it. Yeah, but you can't keep putting reins on them and forcing their customers to go to Statesboro, because they'll drive right by that store to go get their liquor in Statesboro, and they're not going to stop and get their drinks from him. They say, I got to go to town anyway. My daddy's store is no longer there. It's a Mexican restaurant now. I owned an alcohol license for many years in Bullitt County. And I want everybody to understand now, whiskey by the bottle was voted in, like the commissioners always say, you know, we want to do what the people want. Whiskey by the bottle was voted in by the majority of the citizens of Bullitt County to be in the county. And this commission up here voted in November to give that man an alcohol license, a beer and wine license. And it meets all the criteria, the distance from the church, the difference from schools, the difference from everything, because he's held a beer and wine license. So that takes that burden off of us. As far as the liquor being separated, that's a state law that liquor has to be separated from his store. That's not a county law. That's a state law. And so I just want everybody to understand that. And telling him not to sell the liquor when he's got a beer and wine license and has and never had a problem with the law as far as I know. It's like telling him, yeah, you can sell Marlboro Lights and Winston Lights, but you can't sell Marlboro and Winston because they're just a little too strong. So I just wanted to point that out, that it was voted on by the citizens of Bullitt County to put whiskey by the bottle in Bullitt County. It was voted on by this board to give him an alcohol license. And I'd like to see that alcohol changed, because it stated back when you applied for a beer and wine license, because just beer and wine in 1980 was voted in Bullitt County. And liquor by the bottle or by the drink was not permitted in Bullitt County. Bullitt County was dry up until that time. And so that's the reason the writing is in there just for the sale of beer and wine. It should be when you come up here and you apply for an alcohol license that you can, if you want to choose to pay the $2,000 for the beer and wine license, you choose to do that. If you want to pay the extra $3,000 for a liquor license, then you choose to do that. You either got an alcohol license or not an alcohol license. So that's what I wanted to say. He's a small business, and if he's gone from out there, you'll miss him.
Mr. Davis?
I think this will set a precedence for the communities of Leafield, Stilson, and Nevels. The foundation of these communities have been, and were to start with, churches and schools. I don't see this as an asset to those communities. Leafield has a church, Stilson has a school, Nevels has 2 churches and a school in those communities. I realize that there's over 100 signatures here to approve this. That is a convenience to those people. I personally feel like that these liquor stores should be in the incorporated areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say I'm the one that tabled this from the last meeting, and as you can imagine, just because I hadn't heard no more about it than what I had heard, and my phone's been busy. It has been busy for a solid month now, and with pros for it and against it. I have to side with Mr. Rushing on some of his statements on it. It is so. What he says is exactly true. I also have to side with Mr. Davis on some of his. This problem here in Leafield, which is what I call home, is pretty torturous to be in a community that's pulling you every different direction. And that being said, no matter which way I vote tonight or don't do, I want everybody to know it is not a personal thing. It is strictly a decision has to be made tonight. And no matter what I do or whatever, it's not nothing on nobody. It's just a decision has to be made. I just want everybody to understand that, and all the phone calls. I appreciate all the phone calls. I appreciate you telling me which way you wanted me to go with this. That's what you're supposed to do. I thank you very much. I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion on this item, please.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Rushing. Can I get a second?
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Simmons. All in favor? All opposed? Motion is denied, 3-2.
It passes 3-2.
No, it was denied. Mr. Mosley, Mr. Davis, Mr. Connor voted against
Mr. Chairman, you'll need another motion, though,
to.
to deny the request. Yeah.
So again, just to clarify, that motion was to approve the license and it was denied. So I need a motion to deny the actual permit.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay, do I get a second? Got a motion from Mr. Connor and a second from Mr. Davis. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes to deny the license, 3-2. Mr. Davis, the floor is yours. Or excuse me, Mr. Poe.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our second agenda item tonight is a conditional use submitted by Peyton Molina Russell. The conditional use is to operate a home occupation which would be conducted in an accessory building on the property. Property is located at 622 Waverly Lane. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with conditions by a 4-3 vote. And then staff recommends approval with conditions. The property is an R25 zoning. This parcel is just less than an acre at 0.92 acres. General location is shown here on the Bullitt County map. It's just south of Statesboro. It is in a planned subdivision at the located in a cul-de-sac there on Waverly Lane. You see the parcel highlighted on the zoning map. You have, again, it's in a planned subdivision. The rear of the property is also in a planned subdivision, R25. So generally, looking at a little less than half-acre lots. And the applicant proposes to place the accessory building behind and to the side of the single-family home that's currently on the property, as shown on the site map here. And we do have a few conditions that would require some off-street parking, just one additional space, so that it's not by all appearances, storefront, it's appointment-based. And so staff felt comfortable in making a recommendation of approval so long as they follow the supplemental standards that are in the zoning ordinance. And these are photos of the property when we placed the zoning notice sign at the property. And this is the view towards the house, to the left of the house, again, as shown on the site plan. We do have a condition that would require the exterior of the accessory building to match the home exterior. So, and with that, I'll ask the applicant to approach the podium.
Good afternoon, Board.
Just let him talk and we'll We'll all be fine.
I'm kindly asking for approval of a conditional use structure. My first priority with approval is to respect my neighbor's right to live in a quiet and comfortable neighborhood. I will make sure my customers do not draw extra attention to their presence, and my hours of operation would be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. appointment-based only, with me taking no more than 4 people a day. With your approval, I will be able to achieve my goal of being a stay-at-home mom while also bringing income into the family. I ensure you and my neighbors will not have to worry about heavy traffic, late night disruptions, or loud noises. But with the approval of this building, I will be able to abide by Georgia State Board of Cosmetology rules and regulations as well. So I thank you guys for your time and your consideration.
Before y'all leave, I just want to make sure that the board doesn't have any questions or comments for you. Okay.
What's the size of that building?
It'll be a 14 by 30.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Venus, we don't have anybody signed up for public comment. Okay. All right. So there's no public comment. If there's no other questions or comments from the board, I'm going to call for a motion on this item.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from Mr. Connor to approve. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 3 is a conditional use submittal by T-Mobile. The application is to locate a 250-foot tower to be used for communications equipment or cell tower. The property is located at 849 C. Scott Road. Mr. Jonathan Yates will serve as the agent. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval with conditions by a 5-0 vote. And the staff recommends approval of the conditional use with conditions contained in the staff report. Most of our conditions track along with what our third-party reviewer has suggested as conditions for this case, in which the applicant does pay a fee for the county to hire a third-party consultant on cell tower applications. And so we did follow that process. General location, just to the east of Leafield. The location is on C. Scott Road, which is kind of more the northern portion of the parcel that it would be located at, and shown here on an aerial. I wouldn't necessarily expect you to be able to view where that is, but the general location is more or less in the middle of the parcel. There were photo renderings where the cell tower what it would look like from the view shed of the surrounding properties. And again, our third-party consultant, as well as staff, agrees that it would track along with our ordinance and any visual requirements that we may have. And this is the property, again, approximate location to the C. Scott Road where we placed the zoning sign. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Yates if he will approach the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Jonathan Yates. First and foremost, I have to do a big hearty thanks to Mary DeLoach. Throughout this process, and I've told the Planning Commission this, I think I asked 101 stupid questions to her. She never laughed at me, and she got me through the process, and we're glad to be here tonight.
You're doing better than me because she laughs at me all the time.
Well, maybe when she hung up the phone, but no, I really have to thank Mary. She got me through the process. The facility tonight is designed initially for T-Mobile, but also for 3 additional broadband carriers if they want to improve the coverage in that area. T-Mobile has a deficit in that area. Their closest tower that they're on is an AT&T tower about 4.35 miles to the north. The property in question, 792 acres owned by the Shepherd Properties. They allowed us to more than meet all the setbacks and put it in a position. It works absolutely for T-Mobile, so I also have to thank the Shepherds for allowing us the placement on that property. 792 acres, about half of it in planted pines, half of it in farm fields that they rent out. Again, it's a 250-foot facility, so it has the space on the tower and then a 60-foot by 60-foot compound on the ground, space not only for T-Mobile, but 3 additional broadband carriers. If we're allowed to do this, it takes about 60 days to build the facility. Most of that is putting the foundation in. The tower itself is stacked in a day. After that, T-Mobile only comes out about 8 to 10 times a year. All this equipment is now operated and monitored remotely, but they do come out sometimes just to tinker with equipment. The facility will not produce any noise, odor, vibration, dust, fumes, or glare. What will it do? It'll allow people to use their phones for both voice and broadband. And to me, most importantly, if you're out in the country, you can get a hold of law enforcement. You can get to the 911 first responder, whether it be fire, police, or EMS. The county has the new Everbridge emergency alert system. This will support that. So we're hoping this is a win-win for everyone to bring the coverage out there that is definitely needed, and we feel that this property is the best place to put it. I'm here for any and all questions that any of the commissioners or the chair may have.
And I'll just go on and tell everybody that there's nobody signed up either in support or opposition of this. So any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion on this item, please.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Connor
Second.
and a second from Mr. Rushing. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll just read this request so that I'm thorough in what we're asking for as staff. As you may recall that the Board of Commissioners did pass a data center moratorium many months ago. Staff brought forward a very rough draft of a data center ordinance that we had worked on for a little while, and out of that discussion, we were instructed as staff to develop an amendment to the zoning text, which would essentially prohibit data centers in the unincorporated Bullitt County area. And so after conferring with Attorney Akins about, how can that be achieved, we've ultimately arrived at this zoning text that we're putting before you tonight, of which Planning and Zoning Commission made a recommendation for approval by a 5-1 vote. And I'll just read the request. Bullitt County Board of Commissioners has submitted a text amendment requesting to modify the text within the Bullitt County Code of Ordinances, Appendix C, to include modifications to Section 202 definitions to add data center, modify general business, heavy manufacturing, and light manufacturing uses, to remove the following definitions from text, including commercial cryptocurrency mining, cryptocurrency data center, cryptocurrency server farm, and to modify Section 1415, currently labeled as commercial cryptocurrency mining operation. And as a high-level overview, and if you want to ask questions, of course, that's certainly fine. But really what this is introducing in our zoning text is the definition of a data center, specifically a more broad data center definition, so that cryptocurrency mining is truly a data center type. But it specifies that data centers are not, they're not a general business use, it's not a heavy manufacturing use, and it's not a light manufacturing use. So in other communities, like Loudoun County, Virginia, when their data center, they had a strong run of data centers there. Initially, their zoning administrator interpreted data centers as an industrial use. And so this would essentially spell it out for anyone in the future that data center is defined, but it's not in our chart of uses. It's not in our use chart. So if someone wanted to come present a data center project to the unincorporated Bullitt County, the zoning administrator would not be able to take an application for that use because, again, it's clearly defined that it's not a use available in our zoning ordinance. And Mr. Akins, I don't know if you want to add to that. If that's, hopefully I'm clear. Sometimes I'm not, but.
No, sir, I think you covered it pretty well. Because the way the zoning ordinance is set up, if a use is not listed, then it's basically prohibited. And we've had that come up before with other uses where we had somebody wanted to do something that was not in the ordinance, so they would have to apply for a text amendment to make it, that particular use, a permitted or conditional use. So this is really, as James pointed out, is clarifying that a data center, and we had to define a data center in order to use that term, that it is not included in the general business, heavy manufacturing, or light manufacturing uses. So those are kind of catch-all provisions. And those are actually conditional uses. So the idea behind that was that if a specific commercial manufacturing or manufacturing use is not spelled out, that you could come under one of these catch-all provisions, but you have to apply for a conditional use. And this makes it clear that if it's a data center, it doesn't even come under one of these catch-all provisions. So as James said, they wouldn't be able to accept an application for it.
Yeah, so I think in the end, this is what was asked for staff to produce. So what you want to do with it, that's obviously up to the board. I will say that through my research, there's certainly pros and cons to allowing data centers, but if that's something y'all wanted to work through and investigate further, whether or not you pass this, that can still happen. But with that, I'll leave it for the board if you have any questions.
I just want to clarify that if we pass this tonight, our moratorium ends today, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Jeff, you correct me if I say something wrong, but this text amendment was drawn up because we as the commissioners asked it to be drawn up for clarification.
Yes, well, my recollection is that the board voted at the time unanimously for the staff to develop a text amendment to prohibit data centers. So that was the genesis of it.
But we also have a moratorium that is in place. If this doesn't pass, that moratorium stays in place till December the 31st, which will prohibit any data centers coming before us to be approved.
That's correct.
Now, to the taxpayers, the people that oppose data centers, you have my word that there will be no confidentiality agreement that I'm a party to.
Barring any other questions or comments, I'm going to open the floor up to public comment, please.
I was going to have a.
No, we got.
Yeah, I was just going to ask James some questions. Me and James went through this several months before I even knew what a data center was. They come out, and I had to come and approach James. James, how many people you got standing in line wanting to put a data center in Bullitt County?
To date, I've not had any phone calls for a data center.
And to your knowledge, if they had one built right now, how long would it be before they could put power to it?
From conversations I've had with Georgia Power, you're looking at probably 3 to 4 years. And there's certain studies that Georgia Power makes data centers go through, and that's a fairly lengthy process, just so they can figure out if they have enough power to give a data center. So yeah, that's the easy answer.
There he is. Me and James went through this. I just want him to answer them. I didn't want anybody to think I was making it up as I went. As far as I know, I was told, and it was researched, that we ain't got the power. If they wanted to put one here now, we ain't got the power, and it'd be 2 or 3 years if you had it built right now before they could put power to it. I myself personally think this was kind of a knee-jerk reaction, because still to this day, I hadn't found out all the answers. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I found out any of the answers. I do know that some of the commissioners went on a field trip and come back with some pretty positive information about the noise and all such stuff as that. Now, it depends on who you talk to or whether how much water it uses. And then if they're against it, they say it uses up a bunch of water and dumps bad chemicals in the water. If you talk to ones that's for it, they say, no, it runs a loop system and all they do is replace the evaporates and then it's going to transfer the power bill to the consumer, and then whoever's for it says no, there's laws in place that can't happen. So I don't know the answer to these questions. I do know the answer that you won't have a data center in Bullitt County for at least 3 years because they ain't got the power to put them here. So we got plenty of time to do any discussions or moratoriums or what everybody wants to. I hate to put Mr. Randy Tillman in, but if you ask some people, he's got property in a county that's got one. And I do hear that if you get one or two, your property taxes could go to zero. And I had never lived there, I don't know. But now that's what they say. And he's standing right there, right or wrong, shake your head, right or wrong. So.
And the Buc-ee's also.
Yeah, but that's what I hear. So, but with just the time that it'll take to even put one in Bullitt County. And I know because I had an email before I got here about what they're doing in the city of Statesboro. I don't know if they're going to put a data center, if they're not. I don't know where they're going to get the power from, but I don't sit on the city council. I sit up here. So I just wanted to tell y'all what I knew about it and what I don't know about it, which I don't know a whole lot. Go ahead.
Public comments?
None.
None.
Signed up.
I do have one that I'm going to read. This is from Mr. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, was that for public comment?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't sign anything. I came a little late and I still allowed to come up.
Come on.
Sorry, this is my first one. So I apologize if I'm breaking any decorum.
First one's free.
All right, I'll bring my punch card
Would
next time.
just give us your name and tell us where you live, please.
Okay, my name is Ethan Castaneda. I live here in Statesboro, just off Lakeview Road. My background is in telecommunications, and I am, I would say, not professional level educated about the uses of artificial intelligence, but I do have some background on the subject. I was interested to hear the comments that were made about the pros and cons of granting somebody an alcohol license, and that same logic then kind of flippantly being passed towards a data center. I'm encouraged by the fact that the commissioners and the staff are looking to better clarify the definitions of data centers, because this is a rapidly moving new technology that not much is known about. But the fact that there is a risk to public health, to the environment, to the ecosystem, and such backlash against something that isn't generally understood or known should indicate that much more research needs to be completed before anything is put into place to allow even a loophole for these businesses to come into our communities. The fact that they may line up into rural areas to place themselves somewhere where they could grow eventually tells us that they want something from us. And the fact that it could be 3 to 4 years, as was posed by Mr. Rushing, before we do see any results of building, tells us that they would not be able to showcase the benefits of building something even within that time frame. And I don't know what y'all have seen, just driving around Statesboro, but I know there's there's a soccer stadium over by the Publix that was supposed to bring a lot of money in. Where did that go? Right? Mismanagement, over projections, people not understanding where they could potentially spend the money or the impact it may have on the community. Those are not things that we should be investing time in. So I think while the amendment to make clarifications for the definitions of data center are a good start, I think they should be ironed out completely, and there should not be anything allowed for that type of construction within the city limits or within the county, as a lot of people have referenced before. Sorry, I don't know how much time I have left. Last thing I'll say about, I guess, data centers in general. If you do go to a corporate site and visit and you're given the tour by the people who own the property, they're not going to show you the negative things necessarily because they own that place, right? They're going to shine a different light on it than what somebody who can see the negative aspects of it. So I'd ask you to consider that as you're developing the language in the future, and to consider all of the younger generations that are coming forward who will have to live within the city limits, and for the precedent that would be set by developing land like this, because it doesn't just start with, it starts with one, right? Then we'll see them pop up all over the place like liquor stores. And we all saw the conflict that popped up for one liquor store out on the edge of the county. So we see one data center inside the city limits. What happens after that? With that, I'll cede my time. Thank you.
I believe I signed the wrong sheet, but I did intend to speak on this one.
What's the name?
Elena Olson.
Okay. We're on general public comments, but you want to speak on?
Come on down.
Right, if that's allowable. And I think we both got our names on the wrong one, if that's okay, and I can.
So we've got about 7 minutes left.
Okay, sure. Before that 7 minutes begins, is it all right if I pass out some handouts?
Sure.
Okay, lovely. Good evening, everyone. And if I take one, pass it down, and I'll get started. Be brief. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Elena Olson. I am a Bullock County landowner, and I have spent a career as a federal environmental protection specialist, and I graduated with Toby from Southeast Bullock. And
I wasn't gonna put that burden on you.
yeah, no, I'll claim you. And so I cheered for him when he was on the football field, but I digress. I've heard a lot of things that sound good tonight on data centers, and some things that confuse me. This text amendment sounds like it's a clever way to make sure they don't come here. But then I've heard another commissioner speak up that we might be leaving something on the table if we don't get a data center. And I grew up on a peanut farm in Nevels. I know this land is really good for peanuts and watermelons. I don't think it's good for data. I'm going to make sure that I reserve time for my colleague from Coastal Communities United to speak too. But what I want you to know is someone who deals with water and wastewater and industrial pretreatment programs for the federal government for research facilities. I'll tell you that this is not clean water coming out of them. First, there's far more water going in, even if you have a closed loop system. Millions of gallons of water are required for every loop they fill, and some of them have 60, okay? And then when that water has to blow down, if it's closed loop, that water gets stagnant. You have to treat it with anti-corrosives, biocides. It leaches heavy metals out of those pipes. That is terribly chemically laden water that goes to your wastewater treatment plant. How do we have an industrial pretreatment program for our Statesboro plant, but the draft data center ordinance, and we wrote y'all about it. If y'all hadn't read it, you got a copy of it in front of you now. We've got 17 technical recommendations on how to strengthen that ordinance. There's an illusion of oversight and missing baseline studies. We got to balance our environmental and infrastructure checkbook. And going back to the presentation on the impact fees, I did not see anything about utilities as projects or systems that can be funded by those impact fees. Yes, we need fire and emergency services for new industry and new houses, but we need water and wastewater for them too. So we've got to know what our capacity is before we promise it to everybody and then we don't have enough. And then the taxpayers are paying for expanded infrastructure or environmental remediation because we've polluted the God's green earth, okay? So I urge you to take a look at those 17 technical recommendations. That's 20 years of my studying and 2 master's degrees, and Kristen's enormous amount of research that are in those technical recommendations, okay? And Lindsay Williams, who's also volunteering with us, she wrote you that email and included some information from us. And so I just urge you to make sure that things like that are happening in Effingham County right now, because something was allowed outright by it being in an industrial section or something and didn't need a special use permit, don't let us get into the fix that Effingham County is in, because I can guarantee you what they promise is not what they're going to deliver. And we're going to take our resources that we don't have in an agricultural community without a bunch of infrastructure to handle this. Okay, so remember that you were elected by the people. I really appreciate this text amendment, but other things I hear tonight worry me. We elected you, not a corporation. Thank you.
Kristen, do you want to stand for?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the chance to speak. We are in full support of your moratorium that you passed in February, and we really appreciate that. Data centers raise big concerns. They can use huge amounts of electricity and water while creating very few long-term local jobs. Without strong rules, they can shift costs on residents and damage the rural character that makes Bullitt County special. If data centers are even considered, the company looking to bring them should be approaching the county with an incentive package, not the other way around. There should also be strong guidelines to protect the current residents' quality of life and vital resources. A moratorium is not radical, it is responsible. It gave the county time to slow down, study the facts, and hopefully look at real studies, such as noise studies and setback analysis, equity or burden studies showing how the impacts fall disproportionately on rural or low-income communities, or health risk papers on nearby populations so that they can make decisions that protect current residents instead of sacrificing them for short-term development. Strong protections considered should be lighter glare restrictions, noise restrictions, including octave bands, dBA and dBc standards, plus setback requirements from homes and schools, water protections, limits on diesel generator use, and requirements that applicants prove the project will not create unacceptable impacts, rather than making residents prove harm after the fact. Please choose careful planning over rush growth. Please protect our rural character and residents and ban these centers that are proven to be negatively impacting human life. That is all I have. Thank you.
I've got one more that I'm going to read from Mr. Frank Bedell here real quick. It says, I intended to be at the meeting tonight, but work obligations will not permit me to attend. I've attached the draft of what I was planning to read. He asked if one of us would read it. My name's Frank Bedell, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. First, I want to thank each commissioner for your willingness to serve Bullitt County. I know this job comes with long hours, difficult decisions, and criticism for every decision. Whether we always agree or not, I sincerely appreciate your commitment to our community. Tonight, I'm here to ask for your support of the data center amendment before you. If you're not already in the yes column, I respectfully ask you to make tonight the night you vote yes. This amendment is not this amendment is about more than data centers. It's about protecting the rural character of Bullitt County, respecting the wishes of the citizens you represent, and ensuring that our zoning ordinance reflects the vision our community has for its future. Over the past several months, thousands of residents have spoken through meetings, email, phone calls, petitions, and conversations. They've asked for one thing, a clear commitment that large-scale data centers are not the right fit for rural Bullitt County. By approving this amendment, you would provide that clarity. You will remove uncertainty for property owners, businesses, and future developers while preserving the quality of life that has made Bullitt County such a special place to live, work, and raise a family. I know each of you has a responsibility to vote according to your conscience and what you believe is best for our county. Tonight, I simply ask that you stand with your constituents and support the data center amendment. Please vote yes. Thank you for your time, your service, and your consideration. I'll ask Ms. Venus to put a copy of that into the record of the meeting and the minutes, so that it can be referred back to later on. And I believe that concludes our public comment on this matter. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Jeff,
Yes.
so dumb this down for me just a little bit.
Okay.
So this thing basically says, this text amendment, being we don't have a zoning for a data center, we can't have a data center.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, if you pass this, then that means it clarifies. I mean, there's a pretty good argument they weren't allowed, they're not allowed anyway under
Right.
the current ordinance. But if you pass this, it will clarify that they could not be included under the catch-all provisions, and mainly the manufacturing, provisions. So, yes, that would basically prohibit them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify a couple issues before we go any further here. Mr. Eldridge, you've been employed here since when?
October.
Since your employment here, have you signed a non-disclosure agreement with any company regarding the development of a data center in Bullock County?
No.
Has any of the staff here signed a non-disclosure agreement similar to that?
No.
Commissioners, have any of you signed a non-disclosure agreement about the development of data center in Bullock County?
No.
Okay. So I just want to clarify that because there's some rumors going around that we were trying to court a data center that ended up in Effingham County, and that statement is patently false. The next thing that I'd like to clarify is there was a wildfire in Bullock County last week, and there was an insinuation made that that fire was deliberate, trying to make space for a data center. That's the biggest cock of crap I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to tell you, it really upset me. Because we're talking about a public safety issue and people are trying to make it into a money grab. I understand that people are very passionate about this issue, but the reality of this is nobody in here wants to go burning somebody's property to make a profit. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Y'all, if we want to talk about data centers, we can talk about this all night long. We can talk about whatever you want all night long. But when we start making comments like that in public, on a public forum, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make anything go any better. It doesn't promote a dialogue that comes to a solution that works well for everybody there. So I just ask that we just stop with this craziness, okay? No one up here is courting a data center. The intent of this from the start was to put a moratorium in place because, quite frankly, I was seeing stuff all over the place about data centers, and I didn't know a damn thing about them. And everything I was seeing was looking kind of interesting, as in scary interesting. Now, I can tell you, I've done a lot of research. I've read a lot of stuff. I've gone and I've stood in front of data centers. I was not escorted there by the people that own the data centers. I was taken by a third party, okay? And I can tell you that a lot of the things that I have heard, they're patently false. Now, I'll also say this. The data centers that were built 20 years ago, 15 years ago, are very different from a data center that's being built today. You can take a data center and you can take a developer, anybody, pick a house, a building, whatever you want. And if you say you build it however you want, they're going to build it as cheap as they can so they can maximize their profit margins. A lot of these data centers that were built 10 or 15 years ago that people are talking about, all the water consumption, the power, the noise, the light pollution, everything else, they were built that way because they were built as cheap as they could be in communities that were economically underdeveloped with no zoning at all. Our intent here from the start was to develop some type of zoning regulation that would protect this community. I've been accused of having an agenda. I absolutely have an agenda. It's to make sure that this county is the best county in the state of Georgia, and it's a place that my children want to come back and live when they finish college. That's my agenda. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm not for this ban. This ban scares me to death, and I'll tell you why. It's very simple. Right now, this county is being sued over a zoning decision. We've been in a lawsuit for over a year. We're spending about $500 an hour for a lawyer to defend the decision that this board made in a public hearing. That decision was made to not approve a zoning change for residential development. What's going to happen when we pass this ban and we turn around and you have a multi-million-dollar company that decides they want to put a data center along this interstate? They're not going to come in here with one lawyer. They're going to come in with this whole room full of lawyers, and we're going to have to defend this. And it's not going to be something that's quick. and you think $500 an hour is cheap, you ain't seen nothing. Guess where that money's going to come from? The general fund, your tax dollars. Now, I've looked at data centers. I've seen some of them. I've seen some of them that are not good. We have an ordinance right now in this county that will allow you to build a cryptocurrency mine, and I believe it's by right. Is that correct, Jeff? Or James?
It's a conditional
It's a conditional permit? Okay, well, you got to get a conditional permit from the board to do it. But there is a resolution that will allow you to build a cryptocurrency mine. Anybody ever been to a cryptocurrency mine? I'm sure these two ladies over here have. Anybody else? Okay. Well, there's one up in Swainsboro if you want to go check it out. It's behind the John Deere tractor dealership there. You'll hear it before you see it. Okay? James has been, or excuse me, Mr. Simmons has been there. So it's loud. Now, I can tell you, I also have stood next to data centers that have been built in the last 4 or 5 years that I don't need a microphone. I could stand next to them, and these two gentlemen were standing down the hill from me about 100 yards away. I have tinnitus in both of my ears. I have hearing damage. I work around helicopters, and I spent most of my adult life around things that went boom really loud. So my hearing's not the best in the world. And I can tell you, I could hear everything they were saying down that hill with that data center running. I could hear birds chirping. I could hear the noise off of I-20 from it. The issues with light, those can be mitigated. All of the issues about water consumption, they can be mitigated. There's technology that's available to do it. And I can also tell you that these companies that are coming in that want to build these data centers, they're absolutely right. They want to come do it. Why? Because they know they're going to make money doing it. Okay? So they will come in and we can tell them, we can develop some very tight zoning to say, this is what you will do in Bullock County if you want to come here. And if you don't want to come here and do these things, you can pack up and go on down the road. Or we can try this ban and hope that nobody comes and challenges us in court. I agree with these ladies over here. There's some things that our ordinance needs as far as some checks and balances. What we have is not there yet, but I think it's a good framework. And I'll give you an example. Mr. Bedell talks about in his letter, he's concerned about farmland being turned into a data center. Well, right now in Bullock County, and this is from Georgia Power, it's not me making this up, in order to put a data center in, you need a 230 kV, I believe that's kilovolt line to run in. Well, I can tell you there's 4 places in Bullock County where there's a 230 kV line. One of them is right off of Kiwanis Road and Burkhalter Road by that solar panel station where the city's talking about putting that data center. The other one is down at the interchange of 119 and I-16. The other one is at the industrial park out on 301, and the other one is at the airport. Those are the only places in the county you can put it. And by this draft document, it says the only place that we would allow a data center in the county is the industrial park, the airport, or out there at I-16 and 119. All the concerns with power, I've talked with Georgia Power about it, multiple representatives. You know, to start, if you walk into Georgia Power today and say, hey, I want to put a data center in, they say, give me $100,000 and get in line. And then when they start looking at it and they actually do the calculations with the study that they have to do with that $100,000 and they figure out what that plant is going to draw for 20 years, let's say give us a check up front for that 20 years worth of power. The other thing that they ask for is a letter of credit. There's only 3 banks that you can get that letter of credit from. They're large national banks like Bank of America and Wells Fargo. They're not going to let Synovus or somebody give you a letter of credit. They want a letter of credit for 3 years that says, if we go under, they're going to pay this bill. Georgia Power now makes any data center that comes in, if they need infrastructure upgrades, they make them pay, the company pay for those upgrades so that it does not cost the local people any money with it. If there's extra demand on the power because of it, they have regulations now that require the data center to pay those and not the local people. I think that we can write zoning that will protect this county. Now, when I started this conversation, I was scared to death of these things. I can tell you, I don't think that they are the boogeyman that everybody on the internet thinks that they are. It's ironic to me that some of the same people that are openly opposed to a data center are all over the socials and everything and using AI that requires more data centers to argue that the data centers are bad. So two more things I'll mention. Did I mention? Well, let me just mention this. I know there's been a lot of discussion, and it's been mentioned again tonight, about tax abatements. Well, I can tell you that there are many of these data centers that they will show up and they'll say, hey, we'll come in. You tell us how you want this built. Oh, you want us to build a water reclamation site to clean the water up before it goes somewhere else? Absolutely, we'll do that. And I can tell you right now that if you go to Monroe, Georgia, to the data center up there that they're building, that's there in Social Circle, they're actually building two more. They're building a water reclamation center in that industrial park, not just for that data center, not just for the other two they're building, but for Takeda Pharmaceuticals and everybody else that's in there. When the water is done being cleaned in that thing, they actually have to add minerals to it because the water is so pure. It's distilled water when it comes out of there. So again, I think that these issues can be mitigated if you have the regulation in place, but you got to have the regulation in place. We could do this and not have any tax incentives required. Now, I'll give you another example that I gave to Rotary the other day. Take 300 acres of land. Pick a spot in the county. A developer buys that land and they say, we're going to put something here. We're either going to put houses in here, R25, that's a house every half acre, which will get you on 300 acres, 600 houses, okay? And we'll just figure for good round math, 4 people per house. I'm getting into deep math. So that'd be 2,400 people, is that right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't math in public well. Anyway, it's a lot of people, several thousand people. If you got, what do we say, 300 acres times, so 600 houses, that's 1,200 cars. That's 1,200 more cars on your roads. How many more fire stations, EMS and law enforcement do you need? How many more schools do you have to build for that subdivision? You could take that same 300 acres and we could put something heavy industrial in there. Right now, there's a nickel refinery plant that would love to come to this part of the state. How many of you want a nickel refinery in Bullock County? Okay. Or we could put a data center in here where we say, you're going to come in here, you won't drill a well for this. You will use public water. You will build a water reclamation site. You will use a closed loop or better system. You will use batteries and not diesel generators as backup. Georgia Power is going to take care of the power issues. We can dictate to them where they will go in this county, and they will take absolutely no tax incentive to build. Oh, and we can also put in there, if this goes under, you're going to put everything back like it was before you started. We can do that through zoning. We could do every bit of it. If we want to talk about getting the verification of their power and all the technical recommendations you did, we can build that into the regulation. Or we can bury our head in the sand and hope that this protects us. I don't think that it will. Last thing I'll add to this. This data center thing is bigger than just the environmental and the local issues. This is a national security issue. And it's very simple in that we're either going to store our data domestically or that data is going to be stored somewhere overseas. If that data is stored overseas, how are you going to guarantee that it's secure? And I can tell you right now, every bit of data about you, not just your search history, but your financial health, travel records, all of that stuff is stored somewhere. There are bad actors all over the world that would love to get their hands on this data. And quite frankly, I think that a lot of the negativity, the anti-data center you're seeing is being put out by bots that are probably funded by some of these bad actors because they want to have access to that data. If they have access to this data, they control you. I understand the fear, the concern. We should be concerned. This is something new. Do we have all the answers? Absolutely not. I'm not ready to vote on an ordinance tonight. But when we passed a moratorium, we did it deliberately to allow us time. The only reason we did it was to pump the brakes until we could figure out what's going on. So I think I've ranted and raved and said everything I'm going to say about this. Anything that y'all would like to add or any other questions that you have?
I would, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to clarify that I'm not for data centers or against data centers. I'm in between because I feel sure what the lady said, there's truth in it, but I don't know. I hadn't followed it that close. There's a moratorium set forth that I'm going to be gone January the 1st, so I'm not going to get to vote for them or against them. All I can tell you is that there's not enough information for anybody up here to make an informed decision about it. And until January the 1st, we have time. I just hate to see something like this text amendment and then we quit getting any information for anybody because they say, well, they don't want us, we not going there. And it'd be just like 150 years ago when the first car pulled in Statesboro down here and it scared everybody's horse and the youngest to death. And I'm glad they didn't put a text amendment on automobiles because everybody up here drove one tonight. But they had no idea it scared them to death. I'm just saying there isn't enough information that we know that is correct information. Now, you can hear, like I said before, you can hear anything. I can get them to come up here and tell you how bad they are. I can get them to come here and tell you how good they are. But I hadn't talked to anybody that's other than Mr. Tillman's had one in their county. I ain't talked to anybody that's built one. I don't know anybody that's built one, you may, but I'm just saying that something like this, it casts a bad light and our information is shut down. And I'm totally against any moratorium, except when you need time like this. And let the commissioners or whomever, if they appoint a committee to get the information, this good information, and bring it to you, but you just can't say no when you don't know what you're saying no to. And so I can't say no to it because I don't know what I'm saying no to. And that's all I'm saying. But I'm not for them or against them and ain't gonna get to vote for them either way, so.
I appreciate what you said about forming a committee because I really think that the next step here is that we need to put that committee together. And we can discuss that more once we vote on this, or we can put that off till we can add it to the agenda as a separate meeting. But I'm happy to discuss that, but I think that's the way that we need to go. Any other questions or comments on this item?
So, Mr. Chairman, this clarification for Attorney Akins or whatever, we say no, this keeps the moratorium in effect. We voted yes, the moratorium is gone, so.
Yeah, but if you vote yes, then it clarifies that data centers aren't allowed. And I mean, one way to approach it is this would, if you approve the amendment tonight, it's not written in stone. You can always come back. I mean, you could look at it as a ongoing moratorium until you come back and decide to amend the ordinance again. Because I think if you want to preserve the status quo while you study it further, then the amendment might be a good idea. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This would, I wouldn't take in an application for a data center currently as the ordinance is written anyways, but this does clarify that it, yeah, so.
And the so-called moratorium will expire at the end of this year, as Commissioner Davis pointed out. That's only, what, four months from now? So that's not a lot of time. It sounds like a long time, but it's not, because in order to get an amendment in place, that's going to take 2 months. You know, once you know what you want to do, because it's got to go through planning and zoning and then come to the commissioners. So I'd say you're running out of time. And if you approve the amendment tonight, and I'm not recommending one way or the other, but I'm just saying that you won't have to extend the moratorium, which I don't know that you should do that anyway, but this would give you more time, basically as much time as you wanted, to further study it. And then if you decided it would be a good idea to amend the ordinance again to allow them in certain areas and put some standards and restrictions on them, you can always do that.
Well, I tell you what, I'm just as confused as what you just said. And I mean, I need to know, I need more information. Now, this text amendment, it is gonna give me more information and more time, or what?
No.
It's not going to give you more information, but it'll give you more time, yeah.
I would think that would shut the information flow down.
That's what I'm saying, is, I mean, I don't wanna shut the information down. That's what I'm saying. If we're gonna vote yes on this text amendment, that's saying that we finish with it. Am I right in saying that?
It's saying what? Say again.
I tell you
Mr.
what I
Simmons,
wanna
what?
do. I'd just like to just table the whole thing.
Are you making a motion?
I make a motion.
Well, now, if you table it, you're going to have to vote on it next month. So is that what you intend?
But right now, I'm confused.
All right, we got a motion on the floor to
Okay.
table for 30 days. Or do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Mosley. All in favor of a 30-day table on this? I got 3 for it, all opposed? 2 against it. Motion carries. We tabled this for 30 days. All right, that concludes our zoning for the evening. We're going to move into our regular portion of the meeting. Before I can entertain a motion to approve let me get the right page here. Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board?
No, sir.
County board,
Discussion?
yes, 16.
Number 16, you'd like to move to new business?
16.
Any other items that y'all would like to move? All right, well, let's go ahead and read through the rest of actually, I need a motion to approve the board as it is first, or the agenda as it is.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, how about a second?
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Rushing and a second from Mr. Mosley. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving into public comments. At this time, I'll recognize those citizens who've signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 5 minutes.
Jerry Perigine.
Everybody's such great speakers. I'm just going to read my double-spaced thing. It should be 4 minutes. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you this evening. My name is Jerry Perigin. I live at 2516 Westover Drive. My wife and I, which is off Pulaski Road, we moved to Georgia in 2024 to be closer to our 2 daughters, one of whom lives in Charleston, the other in Jacksonville Beach. We love the community and deeply respect Georgia's culture and outdoor traditions. I'm here today as a concerned citizen to point out a structural public safety hazard on Parish Road, one that is caused by our county's rapid growth. I distributed a map. Looking at the map I distributed to you, you can see my home circled in white on the left. Westover is a subdivision of about 80 homes, each on about a half acre. Off to the right on the map, you can see another white circle in front of a wood line. There's targets set up on that 5-acre lot, roughly where the circle is, and people, as I understand it, mostly friends of the property's owner, recreationally fire weapons near the wood line. At that target area and on other portions of the property, Various types of weapons have been fired at all times of the day. To be clear, I am not gun-averse. In the 1980s, I was a sergeant with the 3rd Infantry Division stationed in Europe. I did my basic training, of course, right here at Benning, Fort Benning, and served in Europe. During my service, I saw some very odd and dangerous things occur on live fire shooting ranges, and that was with certified range safety officers actively present. I support the Second Amendment, but my background tells me that range safety cannot be calculated using an ideal scenario. It must account for human error. Our current county code, section 10-89, sets the firearm discharge buffer at 250 feet. When that ordinance was written in 1988, Parish Road was largely an unpaved rural dirt road. Today, it is a high-volume residential corridor, at least at some times of the day, where families walk, people jog, golf carts, sometimes with people that don't look like they're old enough to drive them, driving back and forth. And of course, there's Bullock County buses, school buses that come in the morning and in the afternoon and go back and forth. Further, with the bridge closure on Cypress Lake Road, the county's own detour has temporarily redirected considerable traffic right past this firing zone, an influx that will permanently alter our road's traffic patterns even after the bridge is repaired. A 38-year-old safety standard designed for dirt paths simply does not match our current population density. According to the SMART Bullock Joint Comprehensive Plan, Bullock County is growing outward exponentially from Statesboro. The county gains about 105 residents per month compared to just 5 in the city proper. Because of this outward push from Statesboro, we are seeing a dangerous intersection where high-density residential subdivisions of half-acre lots sit directly across a narrow country road from rural tracts. A 5-acre lot is simply no longer isolated when it faces dozens of families across the street. If a shooter loses muzzle discipline or experiences a mechanical failure, a single errant round faces 0 physical barriers before hitting a home or a residential vehicle or a pedestrian. I'm asking this commission to use its zoning and planning powers to protect county roads by drafting a modern safety amendment for properties directly adjacent to high-density subdivisions. We need a 1,000-foot safety buffer or a mandatory engineered earthen berm to form a protective barrier. On the back of that map I gave you, there's some examples of a couple of examples of how deeply gun-friendly states like South Carolina and Texas have successfully updated their county zoning laws in this regard. Most of Bullock County wouldn't be affected at all by some common sense restrictions on the more populated areas. I know that neighbors of mine in my community go to very nearby areas, much more isolated from traffic, and they do their shooting there as well. Let's protect our traditions, but let's also update our 1988 laws to protect the citizens on Parish Road today. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Peregrine, I just got one question for you. This map, it shows a circle at the back side of this field. So are they shooting like from the road back toward that circle?
They have targets set there and they shoot along, sometimes directly into the woods, but sometimes back and forth along. And as I say, sometimes there's been some very loud munitions, which are not AR-15s that they set off. And they've been on other parts of the property as well. It's a perpendicular from the road, goes back on an angled 5-acre lot there. There's a few of them there. I'm not exactly even sure which. They sort of converge back there, a few.
But they're not shooting toward the road, they're shooting to the woods?
No, sir. They're not shooting towards the road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Clara Eason.
Good evening. My name is Clara Eason, and I'm here again. This is my second time for an update on paving Old Happy Road. This road was approved for paving in 2023, Yet we have not seen meaningful progress. In the meantime, the road continues to serve families, school buses, emergency vehicles, farm equipment, commercial traffic, and increase in number of residents as our community continues to grow. Every heavy rain creates washouts and hazardous driving conditions. These conditions affect not only the people who live on the road, but also everyone who depends on it for safe travel. We appreciate the work the county has done on many other projects, but we are asking that this project receive the attention it was promised. I respectfully ask the board to answer just 3 questions if possible. What specific obstacles, if any, are delaying the construction? Has funding been secured? And if not, when is that expected to happen? And can you provide a realistic timeline for the next steps and the anticipated start of construction? Most importantly, we would like to know what action residents can expect before the next quarter. We are simply asking for transparency, accountability, and a clear path forward. Thank you for your time and for your service in Bullock County. We look forward to receiving an update and working together toward a solution. As you know from the previous young lady doing her presentation with impact fees, if my kids want to move back to Georgia like I did, being gone for 40 years and coming back just within the last few years, now they will be added additional impact fees to put a mobile home, build a home. But in the rural area, we get absolutely no benefits for the increased property taxes that we endure every year. All we're asking, if we can get a paved road to tell us that we matter too in the rural area. Any questions or any comments?
Mr. Nelson, could you provide us some clarity on Old Happy Road here real quick, please?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Ron Nelson, County Engineer. So, yes, sir, the right-of-way is going to take foremost front stage for trying to secure the right-of-way along Old Happy Road. I have been in early conversations with JMT, our right-of-way consultant, and we have not advanced to the point of actually having a full, robust discussion about what the next steps are. I've just got them tasked with every other project that we're doing right now. Not making excuses, but literally not trying to put the county in a situation where we are over-committing ourselves in the right-of-way acquisition process, since we do have some issues with Moore Road, Lee Road, J. Hart, trying to figure those out. So really trying to untie the knot where we are in other locations before we jump into another situation. So can say that the design is still progressing, so we still have that moving forward. We're not through with final design, but the right-of-way has not started as of now. The right-of-way, once we do get things started on it, I would estimate it's going to take somewhere around 12 months to finish up the right-of-way acquisition with the number of parcels on Old Happy Road. And there again, that's if the property owners are willing. And we've seen recently that some of the property owners on some of these roads are unwilling. They're unfavorable. They changed their mind. They may have been interested 3 years ago, and for whatever reason now, they're not as interested and motivated. So we've got those circumstances to move through on Old Happy Road once we get to that point.
With due respect, Mr. Bennett, I started a petition back in 2020, just before retiring from International Paper in Memphis, Tennessee, and moving back to my dad's property. It wasn't until 2023, 3 years later, that I presented this case and we got the approval for the road. Here we are 3 years later and we haven't seen any progress. I was told back with Brad Deal that the money was already in the budget, it was already approved, and it was ready for fiscal year 2026. We haven't seen any progress whatsoever. Now, I would love to see the right-of-way papers sent out so that he would know if there are going to be some refusals. JMT, I'm sure, can get those right-of-way papers out to the neighbors on the road. All of them are still coming to me. They know that I started this process. So they're still coming to me. What are you doing? I can't do anything. I'm at the mercy of all of you. And I was told back in November that Old Happy Road was pulled up to number 1 on the list. They sent out the 3 notifications in the mail, in the circulation of the paper, but still nothing. So if you can at least get together and just let us know what's happening, keep us up to date. Brad Deal was very good with that. I'm going to give him his props. But I can't get the communication anymore. So I'm here. I'm going to keep at this. I'm not going to give up. When I first started 4 years ago, I had dark brown hair.
When I started this job, I had hair.
You did.
So, ma'am, I'll just, and I'm not trying to make excuses here, but this gentleman, and he actually got some help from Andrew when he started the first of this year. This man managed every engineering project in the county.
And
I can tell you that our focus as a county has been on 2 things in the last year. One, just getting all the roads in the county passable from the storm. We just got done with that back in March, April. So the other thing that we've been working on is trying to get some of these bridges that are out passable. Okay, we just opened up Country Club Road on Monday. We still have GW Oliver, Cypress Lake. Which one am I forgetting here?
That's it.
Okay, we still have 2 more that it will probably take us another year to get them done. We are facing challenges right now with getting paved or dirt roads paved. And we have pretty well put a pause on the process because of this right-of-way acquisition. We're still trying to figure out how to convince people to allow us the right-of-way so we can go in and pave these roads. And it's become a challenge, and I'm going to be very frank that this commission is going to have to make some hard decisions here very soon about probably going in and taking some land by eminent domain so that we can do that. And we're working through that process and trying to streamline it. I wish that I could give you a timeline tonight as far as when we will get that project started, but I just don't have that information tonight.
Can you at least promise me you'll get the right-of-way out to all of the property owners?
I don't think it's as simple as just sending a letter. Is that correct?
That's right. We've still got to do some analysis to better understand what that process is going to look like. With all the property owners that we have on Old Happy and what we've seen in the past and, how we're just trying to work through these other projects that are somewhat in battle at this point in time, it just doesn't make good sense just to throw another iron in the fire and just continue that whole process. So we're not belaboring it. We're not waiting necessarily because we do have the design that's still working in the background. So we're just trying to get to that point and better understand how we could advance it forward and be successful.
I'm not going to ask you to stay late tonight, but I'm going to give you my card. It has my number, my email on it. We can talk more if you'd like.
Ron, you say the design is in the work. Don't you have to design work has to be completed before you can acquire any right of way, doesn't it?
But we do have the plats. We do have the plats
You do?
necessary.
Okay.
Mr. Nelson, on the land acquisition, the firm that's hired to do this, do they have this lady's name that she can coordinate and help them?
When we get to that point, yes, sir, absolutely. And that's what we've done on the previous projects. We've had some point of contact. That's our lead on those different roads. So yes, sir, we'll definitely take advantage of that. And Ms. Claire Easton has been very upfront. She's asked questions, and I've tried my best to give her everything as much as I possibly can as far as the absolute truth and be as transparent as possible throughout the whole process. So
I think she would be able to bring the 2 parties together to
absolutely,
on the land acquisition.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Michael Bailey.
So I said I wasn't going to do this tonight. That's why my wife didn't come with me. But I'm going to do it anyhow. All right, so my name is Michael Bailey. I live 555 West Clifton Road, right on the other end of the county. And I used to be a regular attendee at Mr. Pope's meetings and these kind of commissioners, and I quit coming. And I'm going to tell you why I quit coming. Wife told me not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyhow. I quit coming because I was up here doing a statement, and I said, oh, hell. And the county commissioner, not this gentleman, the other deputy, he said, I could have you arrested for using profanity in my meeting. My county commissioner chairman did that. Now, at the time, I was still employed. I retired a year and a half ago, so I don't care anymore. But I retired as vice president of nuclear operations for Williams Plant Services. We do nuclear power work all over the country. And if I got arrested, I lost my job. If I get a speeding ticket, I had to report it. I had to take a drug test every 30 days. And that's important. I understand that. And that's part of it. But I got to thinking, I said, oh yeah, and we sued the county commissioners too for that land dispute, zoning dispute. And the attorney said, Mike, don't go. You're going to get in trouble. And me and Mr. Russian butted heads. We didn't dwell on it, but we butted heads. Me and Mr. Connor butted heads. And Toby is a good friend of my son's and lives right down the road from me, and we see each other. I probably see Toby more than anybody in this room. And what we always say, we ain't talking politics tonight. You know, we're just going to drink Coca-Cola. But that's why I quit coming. So I'm putting you on notice. I'm retired. I'm going to come back. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I do. I don't have a problem doing that, especially when it doesn't affect my livelihood. I thought that was terrible. Said in a meeting, and we were discussing the rezoning of Schuman Road. And the chairman of the county commissioners, and God bless his soul, Roy Thompson is no longer with us, and I'm not disrespecting him. It didn't bother him then, so it shouldn't bother him now. He said, I got a list of everybody signed in for this meeting, and you're never going to be able to rezone anything because I'm not going to approve it. And I said, my county commission chairman is threatening me. Oh, no, that's not what I said. Oh, yeah, let's go play that tape back. I still got a few minutes. So I just decided to step away. But what I wanted to tell you tonight, and the whole reason for this whole thing, is I want to thank you guys. You run a good meeting. You run a good meeting. You didn't tell me everything I wanted to hear. Thank God you ain't in Effingham County right now, right? I grew up in Effingham County, and I know a lot of those county commissioners. And for them to go in and do a non-disclosure and say, hey, this is what we're doing, that's very disrespectful to their people. It is, but that's their issue. They can deal with that. The data centers are important. We're going to have to talk about it. It's coming, whether you want it or not. They'll put 5 of them in Effingham County. If they put them in Effingham County and they suck water out of the ground, whose water are they going to get? They're going to get your water. We need to get some regulations on it. We do. And I think Mr. Simmons said it. We need to get some more information. We need to understand exactly what they're wanting to do to us. I got a minute, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I don't have a problem running my mouth, so I'll apologize for that up front. But this was a good meeting. It really was. You didn't tell me everything I wanted to hear. And you definitely didn't make me happy with the liquor store thing. I don't agree with that. And I'm going to voice my displeasure on that, then I'm going to go sit down and give it to somebody else. That store has done everything legal. He has a beer and a wine license, and they work hard every day, and we denied it for personal reasons. That's what I think. And you should be ashamed of yourselves. If you voted against that, you voted against somebody trying to make a living. So I got a problem with that. And, you know, if you want to talk to me, that's great. If you don't want to talk to me, that's great too. I wish nobody no ill intent, but I think you've done it wrong. I think you've done that wrong. I really do. And I am out of time. But I do thank this committee, this commission, for the opportunity to speak to you. And you guys have a blessed week.
Thank you.
Spencer Johnson. William Emley.
Good evening, Commissioners. Once again, one of the things I was just thinking of sitting in the audience here, and I think I proposed this long ago, and that is when we're trying to communicate items like what's the status of this road or paving job or like this, would it be possible to have on our county website like project action items? What's being done? What is the current status? So that way, not just one person has access to it, the whole county has access to it. Just a thought. You know, when I was in the Navy, I had to deal with all the officers with action item lists, and I had a whole list of everything from nuclear weapons to potable water and how full is sanitary tank number 2. And that is a number 2 tank. Anyhow, the item that I have a question of, and that is in development, when we had this ready water source in compliance with ISO 9000 or ISO compliance. Way back when, in 2009, when we were talking about ISO, one of the things that we found was that maintenance and records and like this were not being properly held and not being properly done. And maintenance being how often the hydrants were being checked and like this. And again, out at Oakfield Drive, we've had 2 homes that have literally burnt to the ground. And in the fire report was that the water source was inadequate. That statement, the water source being inadequate, should be ringing bells to the commissioners that, wait a minute, how can one time a fire have inadequate? Okay, that's a possibility, but 2 times now? And how often are we checking the fire hydrants? When the ISO was under the city, when we had the agreement, once a year I was watching the city of Statesboro come out, and they hired, or they tasked, from what I was told, the public works system to test the hydrants to ensure that we were in compliance. So when we had the auditor come back again, we could show them, see, we're not only testing them, but here's the record showing them. We have the proof. I've watched our hydrants out there, and for the last year and a half, I have never seen water running down the street from the hydrants being tested. So I'm trying to get everything ready. My question would be is that we passed that sales tax option last year, and there was a pocket of money that we have been received. Questions I've been receiving from people is that has the 100% of the sales tax money that we receive been given to the commissioners to look at, all right, are we going to be able to lower the expected millage rate? So it is also figured as part of that, I mean, I'm pulling it out of my air, that 10 point, whatever rate it is going to be, that what we collected from the sales taxes helped us get to this rate. And also, again, are we really spending our money wisely? When I look at how much money we're spending tonight or approving, that's a lot of money. But again, running a county does cost a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. So, thank you very much. I really do appreciate all that you do, and keep on, keep up. Thank you.
Reginald Mosley.
Mr. Mosley, before you start, Chief Sykes, will you talk with Mr. Emily about his fire hydrants when we get done tonight? Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. As I stated earlier, I was hijacked to come to this meeting.
I hope you've had a good time.
At 10 p.m. yesterday, I was had an appointment in Asheville, North Carolina for a sleep study. Didn't get much sleep last night, so I made back home about 2:30. And my dear sister invited me to come to the commission meeting. And I said yes, and then I found out I was supposed to come speak. However, first of all, I would say thank you guys for after a couple of decades, Two Chop Road, Portal, Georgia, is now paved. In the process, as you all were developing, I noticed that along the road, there were a lot of sewer pipes put in fields and this, that, and the other. I said, interesting. You know, places where people are not even entering into the field. However, my mom's house is at 14 McFadden Lane, which built Two Chop. And there was a sewer pipe, and we were pointing out that it needed some work done. So to fix it, they removed the sewer pipe. So now we have a dad-blasted river running through the front yard every time it rains. And in fact, there's some silt building up that I work for FEMA, right? And FEMA allocates millions of dollars every time a disaster is declared in the state. And so we might have to get FEMA funds to mitigate for my mom's house, because after a while, rain is going to come into it because of the silt buildup. And I don't think that's really a good idea. However, a simple solution would be to put a darn sewer pipe back where it was initially. So my request at this point in time is put a darn sewer pipe back where it was originally. In fact, you could put two. You could run them all the way down the property line and have to keep all the water from running into the yard. Once again, thank you all for doing the road. There's been some interesting things going on. I appreciate what you guys are doing. And I would say the young lady who's concerned about her road, deputize that young lady to get signatures. Make it an official position or something where she can get those signatures, because I think that the 2 decades that it took to get Two Chop paved, and thank you again, that could speed up the process. And I put my sister's name on the list to speak. I don't know that she wants to or not, but.
Linda Mosley.
My sister. Anyway, thank you guys, okay?
This is Linda Mosley. Did you want to speak?
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like to thank everybody for giving us this opportunity to come before you. Generally, my brother is out of town, so he was here today, and I made sure that he came to the meeting so that he could voice his views on the yard or the house to someone other than the people that's, still there. The second thing is that I live on Banks Creek Church Road, and you guys probably have seen me here a couple of times. And I'm grateful for the work that is being done on Banks Creek Church Road with the paving in place and so forth. As I stated before, now when it rains, I come out, so I'm able to be here today. Also, I would appreciate the road being considered for pavement. I know that we're been approved, but anything that can be done to expedite the situation would be appreciated. We've got a lot of senior citizens on that road, and so we need all the help that we can get. I appreciate you taking this time to listen to me.
Thank you.
And that's it.
All right, that concludes our public comments. We're going to move into our Did you sign up for public comments or the?
I did, and I meant to speak on the zoning thing too, and I appreciate being able to do that, but I've
Okay.
seen folks come up here
Okay.
and talk.
Well, when you said I moved you to number 4, but you are on this one.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Here we are again. I appreciate it. I'll be brief on this second point to make. First, I'm not a bot. I'm a very real person standing before you as a Bullock County taxpayer. I do understand that there is an economic development aspect to data centers, but I do also think that some of the discussion here tonight got a little bit dark. okay? I support national security. I've worked for 2 different branches of our military, okay? And I treasure the time that I was able to support both the Air Force and the Air National Guard. I support that if we need data centers for national security, I really do like the recent proposal I've seen in headlines that they be located on military installations. I believe a national security requirement should be located on a military installation. Furthermore, they would have the appropriate environmental staff, of which I have been a party of that staff before, to do proper federal level environmental review, which we know does not happen at the county level if you don't need something like a federal 404 Clean Water Act permit. If you don't need a federal permit, then you don't get a federal review. And I know the county is not staffed with a group of environmental protection specialists, okay? And so I think it's important that we not make this about national security. This is about Bullock County. This is about our resources. This is about what the people do or do not want in this county. Also, these big hyperscale data centers and the AI stuff, these that use so much water that most of us in my field or appreciate environmental protection, this is not for pulling out your phone in your pocket and using it. It's for smart cities. It's for flock cameras. It's for security and surveillance. It is not for getting out a ChatGPT or something like that and using it to format a document or to get your references right on something that you've been researching. Anyway, I want to go back to also understanding and supporting the ideas that an outright ban might be legally difficult for the county and might put the county in a situation where if you can't prove that you have done your duty to say a ban is the right thing and some developer comes in here and says, well, who says and why? The next best thing is to have an ironclad ordinance for data centers. And while I appreciate that the draft that you all have out has a lot of good things in it, it also has some very scary things in it that would allow Bullock County, if passed as is, to wind up in an Effingham County situation. And let me explain that. Because right now, it has permit by right in industrial zones for major and campus scale facilities. Y'all, that means something like Project Camellia going in Effingham County could come in here in an industrial area and we wouldn't need a special use permit and nobody could get up here and have a public comment about anything before it starts breaking ground. That's dangerous and I do not agree with that. If we don't think that we can legally defend a ban or a text amendment next month when y'all put that back on the agenda, we need to look at a really strong ordinance. And I think you have a good start, but it has some big loopholes, okay? It also says the loopholes on if you're going to go put them in a place that's like an existing warehouse. They do not have the energy, the water, or the wastewater intensity of an old warehouse that used to be there. That's an extremely different use of that property. Just to say, well, if it was a warehouse, you can come in here and put a data center. That doesn't make any sense to me, and I think if y'all think about it, it won't make sense to you either. And one of you talked about, does this ban or something stop the flow of information? No, we expect you all to carry out your fiduciary duty and seek that information. Organizations like ours, Coastal Communities United and other interested taxpayers, they may write to you about their concerns, but you should not be relying only on information of concerned citizens. It's your duty to go out and do the research and seek that information. Hire a consultant if you don't want to just listen to me. But do not think that it stops the flow. The flow is your responsibility to research this and make educated, informed decisions, okay? And the current ordinance, as drafted, does not protect our resources. It does not protect the citizens of this county. And I appreciate your attention to the recommendations that we've given y'all on how to strengthen that. Certainly here for any questions that you might have or want to reach out to us on email and talk about that further. Thank you.
So we're going to move into the consent agenda now. I'll go through these items. Mr. Rushing has already asked that we move item number 16 to the new business section. Number 1, approve the minutes from Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. Number 2, approve the purchase of 2 new trucks from Allen J. Fleet Sales in the amount of $52,054.40. Number 3, approve 1 Mako breathing air compressor from B&T Enterprises for $58,994. Number 4, approve the purchase of a Scott self-contained breathing apparatus and rescue equipment for new apparatus from MES Life Safety in the amount of $134,377.82. Number 5, approve the purchase of 2026 Ford F-150 Super Cab for the Bullitt County Magistrate Court in the amount of $46,275.35. Number 6, approve the purchase of Lion PPE from NAFCO in the amount of $90,340. Number 7, approve the purchase of Lion PPE from NAFCO for new volunteer firefighters in the amount of $22,585. Number 8, approve a contract with Gregory Bridge Company for construction of a new bridge on GW Oliver Road in the amount of $1,589,925.87 to be funded through FEMA, GEMA, and T-SPLOST. Number 9, approve a contract with Southeastern Site Development for the construction of a bridge on Cypress Lake Road in the amount of $1,876,726.56 to be funded through FY25 GDOT LMIG Local Road Assistance. Number 10, approve the purchase of computer replacements for county departments from Dell Technologies for $75,118.94. Number 11, approve the purchase of a pre-engineered metal building furnished and erected by Marsh Construction Services for the amount of $97,632.45 for the Bullitt County Morgue. Number 12, approve the purchase of a new ambulance from 10-8 Fire and Safety in the amount of $286,029. Number 13, approve the purchase of a new ambulance from 10-8 Fire and Safety in the amount of $286,029. Number 14, approve the purchase of 3 Caterpillar motor graders through a Sourcewell contract with Yancey Cat in the amount of $996,418. Number 15, approve the purchase of a 275 AC compact loader from Yancey Cat for $126,457.41. Number 16 has been moved to new business. Number 17, approve the negotiations with Kimley Horn and Associates for design and engineering services for the Burkhalter Road Transportation Improvements Project. We can approve these items collectively, or we can move any item to new business for further discussion. What would the commission like to do?
Approve them as read with the exception of 16 to new business.
Is that a motion there, Mr. Simmons? Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Mosley. All in favor of approving the list as it is with the exception of item number 16? Say so now. The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business. Adopt a resolution supporting the transmittal of a draft capital improvements element to the Coastal Regional Commission for regional and state review as required for the consideration of an impact fee program.
Mr. Chairman, if I can answer any questions you all may have, or Ms. Hatley has stayed here, any questions for her?
Just to clarify, is to move forward this, what is the expense on this to the county?
To move forward with the contract?
Yeah.
Of completing an impact fee? I think the contracted amount total was about $86,000 roughly. I think we've expended we've been invoiced for about $20,000 to date. I don't know what's left hanging out there I don't know the exact total to tell you that, but
You want the long or short version of this? You want the short version? If you hunt a motion,
lay it on us.
I'll make a motion to deny until we have more information as far as what this is going to affect. There's got to be some kind of way that somebody can say a house is going to be 3,000 or 5,000 or something.
I think you have to go through this process to get to that dollar amount. I mean, I was doing some math, went back and looked back when you did the Georgia Tech study, and it said there's 3,500 homes could be built in Bullock County, fully entitled, ready to go. I mean, you're looking at, if it was at 3,000 that was kicked around, that's $10.5 million. If you're doing 5,000, $17.5 million. I mean, it does tip the needle for this county for future capital costs. I understand the concern about, if it's a longstanding farm or somebody putting something on it. And I would just argue that's, making perfect the enemy of good. When you look at, these are subdivisions ready to go, 3,500. I know there's more. That's a lot of money that these people coming into your community could contribute. And I understand the other side of it when you say worried about somebody subdividing a family property, but this is a way for those coming into Bullock County to contribute to those needs. And again, I've dealt with it other places I've worked. It doesn't get you everything, because the most expensive part is putting the firefighters in that fire station. It's hiring the deputies, it's hiring those. This doesn't help with that at all. It's just a small slice of helping this community build those capital facilities that you'll need going forward. But this is just part of the process. I mean, you can expand on that. You still will have to vote. You still will have to set those dollar amounts at some future point in time. But this just gets you further along on the process.
Yes, sir. In order to calculate the fees that could be contemplated, we have to have a project list as the basis, because we have to know what is needed to be paid for in part by impact fees. And so that's why we go through this detailed step of developing the project-based CIE document that has project lists and it has associated cost estimates and potential years of implementation over the coming 20 years. And so once we have those projects and associated costs in hand, then we begin to move to the actual calculations to understand, okay, to help pay for these, as has been documented, what will the fees, what could they look like as the basis for preliminary discussion? And sending this on to the state, if ultimately the county elects not to move forward with an impact fee program, you just don't adopt the CIE. But because it has a up to a 2-month window that requires review by the state, that's a little bit of time. And so we tried to go ahead and get that into that pipeline so we can now focus on the calculations themselves to bring back to you all for more in-depth discussion.
So this process is just, we're going through it, just more of a clarification of what we're gonna get to as far as clarifying how much cost is gonna be and stuff. We're not voting on implementing an impact fee here tonight.
Correct. No, that's,
Just moving it
this is a very, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
farther along to get to where we might vote on implementing an impact fee.
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary required component that if it's approved by DCA, then it's ready and waiting for adoption. If you want to move forward with an impact fee program, then you would have to pick it up off the shelf and adopt it. And it also is the basis for us to begin to move to the really in-depth fee calculations to know what the heck we're talking about with respect to the maximum that could be charged for a single-family house. And then if there's a desire to continue those discussions, well, is that number too high? What do we need to come in at? So no, it's still very much early days. It's just checking the box with respect to the state requirements if you want to consider moving forward.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this list is, we're not even close to putting a dollar amount on an impact fee, because this list is really just going to the state and saying, these are a list of the projects that we would like to fund with an impact fee. Is that correct?
Right. It's showing the state we have to prove to them what is demanded by future growth. We're supporting the case for that these are needs for specific projects that aren't coming out of the sky, and then working with the departments to try to get a best guess of what those cost estimates are. And then we move forward with, okay, that yes, that's the expectation is if there's going to be impact fees, we calculate them based on how those project costs to try to ascertain what the fees would be needed to help pay for. To your point, they're not going to pay 100%, but to help pay for those capital projects. And then that can further the discussion there. And I apologize because I know we're just speaking in these sort of preliminary generalities, but this is just step number one.
And I think that for instance here is you sat down with all the different department heads and discussed with them projects that they see that they will require in the future. For instance, I know that you sat down with the fire department and they talked about building new fire stations. Is that correct?
Yes, but that was based on a very robust fire station coverage plan. So again, looking out ahead 20 plus years, what would be needed to fully accommodate or serve the entire community for expanded coverage and to account for the growth in population. And so having something like that as a basis, again, it's not just a wish list. It's that, hey, we're looking ahead and these are real world potential needs, given the fact that the community is still growing.
And this list has been all compiled together, and that's really what this report is. We're just taking it to the state and saying, this is what we have, and then the state says, yes, those are legitimate things that you need to purchase,
yes,
correct?
We have to show that, what is the level of service? Basically, what is the basis? How did you arrive at these numbers? And showing them this is projected growth. We know that can change, but in this point in time, this is what we're seeing. And in order to serve that growth, we have to expand services as such. And not every project is fully impact fee eligible. That's what gets into our fee calculations. It gets very complicated because some costs can't be borne by new development. If it's addressing a problem or a deficiency that exists now, then we have to factor that in. There are a lot of details that having this list of projects and associated costs allows us to springboard into figuring out what we're actually talking about in terms of dollars and cents that might be charged as an impact fee.
So to Mr. Rushing's point, I know you want to, how much is this really going to cost, but I don't think we're there yet. Is that the gist of this?
Correct. We've got to have the CIE, and then we can begin looking at, now that I got projects and costs, can understand how to move forward with the calculations themselves.
So Mr. Rushing go ahead, Mr. Davis.
If I understood you correctly, this is a preliminary required component to move forward with the study of an impact tax.
To consider adoption of an impact fee program, yes, sir, you have to have this document in place, and it includes the information that we need to calculate fees for you all to have information at hand to deliberate this further.
And I would say the state law is very specific. You have to follow the state law. You have to go through these processes. There are protections for making it equal protection under the ordinance and how it's assessed. And that's why you can't pick and choose, and you got to apply it equally across anything coming in.
Correct.
And that's state law.
So Mr. Rushing has put a motion on the floor to not do the, or not send this forward, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second? Going once, going twice? Okay, motion dies on the floor. So I need a motion to approve or deny. Well, we've had a motion to deny and it's died, so I need a motion to approve so that we can move forward.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Got a second, or a motion from Mr. Davis and a second from Mr. Mosley. I got it right finally. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our new business. Mr. Eldridge, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir.
Anybody from the staff have any comments? Ms. Dawson, you have anything? No. Okay. How about the commissioners? Mr. Davis?
Mr. Emery has left, but on the abatements, and correct me if I'm wrong, that these abatements that are given, they do pay fire tax and school tax.
That is correct.
Correct.
The property tax is what the abatements are attached to.
That is correct.
Always have, and they don't give them land no more. They make money off every piece of land they sell.
That's right. All right. Any other commissioner comments?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our first responders, especially with the fires and that we had going on in the county. It was serious business, and we thank them for stepping up to the plate. Second thing, I would just like to thank all those who reached out to me during the passing of my brother with cards, texts, whatever manner you reached out. I just say thank you for doing that time. So just wanted to acknowledge that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to thank our staff as a whole for the work you do. I know we don't thank you enough, but I do appreciate our staff as a whole. Y'all do work hard, make us look good. Just thank you.
How about the left side of the table over here? Okay. I'd just like to start off by saying thank you to the fire department and State Department of Forestry and the Army of One that we call the EMA, Mr. Corey Kemp, for all the work that they've done dealing with the wildfires over the last week or so. I'd also like to thank the Recreation Department for the work that they did to help us provide space for how many horses did y'all have out there at the Ag Center, D? 50 horses. Folks don't think about things like that when you have to get folks out or people and animals out of the way. Stalling 50 horses is not an easy task. So we appreciate all the work that y'all did with that. On that same note, I'd like to remind everybody that the county commission has passed a burn ban. That burn ban is still in effect. I know that there are parts of the county. I was talking today. Mr. Connor said you got about 6 inches at his house. I've got about 2.5, maybe 2 1/4 at my house. And then talking with Mr. Eldridge, he said that here in town where he lives, he got about 1/2 inch of rain. So where we are finally getting some rain, and we thank God for every drop of it, there are still parts of this county that are very dry. And we want everyone to be safe. We don't want to lose lives and property due to fire. Whatever it is that you've got to burn, please, I just ask that you just wait and let's get some of this ground wet. Let's get some of this material wet so that we don't have to send folks out to put out any more wildfires. With that being said, unless somebody else has something else to add, I think we're done. Just need a motion to adjourn, please. Got a motion from Mr. Connor and a second from Mr. Davis. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Meeting adjourned at 8:12 p.m.
The wrong one.
Thank you.